The call came at 1:45 in the morning, cutting through the sound of sleet battering my window. I had been awake anyway, reviewing stress calculations for the Seaport pedestrian bridge redesign that was due Monday morning. The nor'easter had been building since midnight, turning Back Bay into a snow globe of ice and wind. My phone vibrated across the desk, an unknown number with a Boston area code. Ms. Brooks? This is Detective Ramirez with the Boston Police Department, District C6. We need you to come to the precinct immediately. It's regarding 2 minors, Ethan and Lily Carter. The world tilted. I stood without thinking, knocking my coffee across the blueprints. What happened? Are they hurt? They're safe now. But we need to speak with you in person. South Boston Precinct. Can you get here within the hour? I was already pulling on jeans, my hands shaking. I'm leaving now. The drive should have taken 15 minutes. It took 35. The streets were glass, the windshield wipers fighting a losing battle against accumulating ice. My mind raced through possibilities, each worse than the last. Vanessa and Michael were supposed to be at some charity gala tonight. The kids should have been with their regular babysitter, Mrs. Chen, who had watched them since Lily was born. The precinct was a brutalist concrete structure that looked even grimmer in the storm. Inside, fluorescent lights hummed over linoleum floors tracked with melting snow. Detective Ramirez met me in the waiting area, a woman in her 40s with tired eyes and a no-nonsense expression that made my stomach clench. Ms. Brooks. Thank you for coming. Let's talk in here. She led me to a small interview room that smelled like burnt coffee and industrial cleaner. Through the observation window, I could see Ethan and Lily wrapped in oversized police department sweatshirts, sitting with a female officer who was offering them hot chocolate. Lily's face was blotchy from crying. Ethan sat rigid, protective, his arm around his sister. What happened? I asked, my voice barely steady. Detective Ramirez pulled out a tablet and opened a digital notepad. At approximately 12:50 a.m., a security guard at the South Harbor Industrial Complex found these children knocking on a warehouse office door. They were wearing light jackets, no hats or gloves, in near-blizzard conditions. The temperature was 19 degrees, wind chill around 3. The guard called 911 immediately. My legs went weak. I sat down hard in the metal chair. South Harbor? That's nowhere near where they live. Where were Vanessa and Michael? We're still trying to reach the parents. The children said their mother put them in a rideshare vehicle and told them their Aunt Natalie was waiting for them at the destination address. The driver confirmed this. He was given an address, 3200 South Harbor Street. He dropped them at that address, saw no one waiting, and left when the children insisted they could see their aunt's building. I live at 3200 North Harbor Street, EI said quietly. In Back Bay. We know. We verified your address immediately. Ramirez's expression shifted, became more assessing. Ms. Brooks, did you agree to watch the children tonight? No. The word came out sharp, defensive. Vanessa called me around 6. She asked if I could take them for the night. I told her no, I had a major deadline and I wouldn't be available. I sent her an email right after to make it clear. Do you still have that email? I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers and opened my email app. There it was, sent at 6:14 p.m. Vanessa, just confirming what I said on the phone. I will not be home tonight. Do not send them. I will not answer the door. Please make other arrangements. The read receipt showed she had opened it at 7:52 p.m. Ramirez photographed my phone screen, then looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Ms. Brooks, I need to ask you directly. Did you give your sister the address 3200 South Harbour Street? No. I've never even been to that part of South Boston. Why would I? The implication hit me like a fist. You think I did this on purpose? We're investigating all possibilities. Child endangerment is a serious matter. If someone intentionally gave an incorrect address that placed children in danger, I didn't send them anywhere. I explicitly told her not to send them. My voice was rising. I forced myself to breathe. Detective, I'm a structural engineer. I work with precise measurements and exact specifications every day of my life. If I were going to give someone my address, I wouldn't get my own street name wrong. Then how do you explain what happened? I closed my eyes. The truth sat in my chest like a stone, heavy and undeniable. My sister has been drinking more heavily over the past year. Michael travels constantly for work. Vanessa gets overwhelmed, angry. She's made impulsive decisions before. Such as nothing involving the kids. Not like this. But even as I said it, I remembered smaller things. Vanessa showing up drunk to Lily's school play. The time she forgot to pick up Ethan from soccer practice, and he waited for 2 hours in the rain. The pattern I had been excusing, explaining away, covering for since we were teenagers. Ramirez studied me. We're going to need to speak with your sister when we locate her. In the meantime, the children are in state custody. Given the circumstances, the potential endangerment, the question of who provided the incorrect address, we can't release them to you tonight. But they know me. They trust me. Look at them, they're terrified. Which is why we're trying to sort this out as quickly as possible. But until we understand exactly what happened, protocol requires. I understand protocol, I said, more harshly than I intended. I also understand that my niece and nephew almost froze to death because someone made a catastrophic mistake, and you're treating me like a suspect. I'm treating you like someone who needs to be ruled out. There's a difference. Ramirez stood. You can see them briefly, but then I need you to wait while we continue the investigation. We've left multiple messages for your sister and brother-in-law. They let me into the room where Ethan and Lily waited. Lily launched herself at me, sobbing into my shoulder. Ethan followed more slowly, his face eerily calm in that way that meant he was holding himself together through sheer force of will. We thought we were going to die, Lily whispered against my neck. It was so cold, aren't national. And nobody came. I know, sweetheart. I know. But you're safe now. Ethan pulled back and looked at me with those disconcerting adult eyes of his. Mom said you were waiting for us. She said you changed your mind and wanted us to come for a sleepover. She put us in the car and gave the driver the address. Was your mom? I hesitated. How did she seem? Her breath smelled like wine, Lily said simply. She was crying a little. She said she needed to go to her event, and you were going to take care of us. I felt something crack inside me, some final protective barrier I had maintained around my sister for decades. I never said that, Ethan. I never changed my mind. I told her hours before not to send you. We know, Ethan said quietly. The address was wrong. We figured that out when we couldn't find your building. I tried to call you, but Mom took my phone before we got in the car. She said we wouldn't need it. 4 hours later, they located Vanessa and Michael. Michael had been in New York for business and was boarding the first train back to Boston. Vanessa had been found at the Peninsular Hotel bar, still at the charity gala, on her 4th glass of champagne. The hotel security footage, which police obtained as part of their investigation, showed her visibly unsteady, laughing with a group of donors while her children were being found at an abandoned industrial dock. The police also pulled the rideshare company's internal records and dashboard camera footage. It showed Vanessa pushing the children into the vehicle, leaning in to speak to the driver, then walking unsteadily back toward her brownstone. The timestamp, 11:38 p.m. I was cleared as a suspect by 4 a.m. Detective Ramirez apologized, professional but distant. We had to investigate thoroughly. I'm sure you understand. I do. What happens now? DCF will be involved. Given the severity of the situation, the endangerment, the evidence of intoxication, they'll likely open a case. The children will be placed temporarily, probably with your brother-in-law once he returns, assuming he passes the emergency assessment. And Vanessa? That depends on several factors. What she says when we interview her. Whether the district attorney decides to file charges. Whether this was criminal negligence or something else. Ramirez paused. Ms. Brooks, I reviewed your email. The read receipt. Your sister knew you weren't available. She sent them anyway. She made a mistake with the address. Perhaps. Or perhaps she didn't care. Either way, 2 children nearly died. I drove home as dawn broke over Boston, the storm finally clearing to reveal a city encased in ice. The bridges glittered. The Charles River was frozen at the edges. Everything looked clean and crystalline and utterly deceptive. My phone rang as I pulled into my building's garage. My mother. Natalie. What have you done? I sat in my car, engine off, cold seeping in. Good morning, Mother. I haven't done anything. Vanessa endangered her children. The police are investigating. The police called us. They said you refused to watch Ethan and Lily. They said you sent them to the wrong address. I sent them nowhere. I explicitly told Vanessa not to send them. She ignored me and gave the rideshare driver an incorrect address. That's not what Vanessa told us. She said you agreed to watch them and then gave her the wrong street. The lie was so brazen, so complete, that for a moment I couldn't speak. Then something inside me, something that had been bending for years, finally broke. Mother, the police have my email timestamped and read receipted. They have security footage of Vanessa intoxicated, pushing the kids into a car. They have the driver's testimony. They have everything. I'm sure there's an explanation. Vanessa has been under enormous stress. Michael is never home. She needed help and you refused. She needed to not send her children into a blizzard with the wrong address. Don't you dare take that tone with me. This family has worked too hard to build our reputation. Do you know what this looks like? Police involvement? DCF? Your father has clients who will hear about this. Then perhaps those clients should know the truth about what almost happened. There was a sharp intake of breath. Your father and I are coming to your apartment. We need to discuss how to handle this situation before it becomes public. They arrived within the hour. My father, Thomas Brooks, still carried himself like the real estate empire he had built, tall, silver-haired, commanding. My mother, Elaine, was expertly composed even at 6 a.m, her cashmere coat perfectly tailored. I made coffee I didn't drink. We sat in my living room with its view of the public garden, now a winter wonderland that looked nothing like the nightmare of the previous night. The family attorney is preparing a statement, and my father began. We'll frame this as a miscommunication, a terrible accident during a storm. Vanessa will issue an apology. You'll confirm that there was confusion about the address. There was no confusion. There was negligence. Natalie. My mother's voice had that razor edge I knew from childhood. Your sister made a mistake. She's devastated. Do you want to destroy her marriage? Her reputation? The children's future? I want Ethan and Lily to be safe. They are safe. This was one incident born from stress and miscommunication. Mother, she was drunk. She gave them the wrong address by an entire neighborhood. She took Ethan's phone so he couldn't call for help. They were knocking on warehouse doors begging for help because they thought they would freeze to death. My father leaned forward. We understand you're upset. This has been traumatic for everyone. Which is why we need to present a united front. The police are suggesting DCF involvement, possibly charges. If we can demonstrate this was an honest mistake, we can minimize the damage. By lying. By protecting this family. His voice hardened. You've always been the responsible one, Natalie. The one we could count on. We need you now. I looked at him, this man who had taught me about integrity in business, about precision in contracts, about the importance of reputation. You're asking me to lie to police and child protective services about child endangerment. We're asking you to be strategic. To think about what's best for everyone, not just in this moment but long term. My mother stood and walked to the window, her back to me. Your father and I are prepared to help you, of course. You still have graduate school loans, don't you? Approximately $75,000. The room went very still. We would be happy to pay those off, as she continued, still not looking at me. And perhaps provide additional support. You mentioned wanting to buy instead of rent. A down payment contribution could be arranged. I felt something cold and clear settle over me. I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recorder app, pressing record and setting it on the coffee table between us. Let me make sure I understand. You're offering me $75,000 plus additional money in exchange for lying to police about what happened last night. Is that correct? My father's face darkened. Don't be dramatic. We're offering to help our daughter who has been through a difficult experience. Contingent on me changing my statement about Vanessa's actions. Contingent on you being reasonable about a family matter that doesn't require police involvement. I picked up my phone, stopped the recording, and saved it. I think you should leave. My mother turned, her expression ice. You're making a terrible mistake. If you pursue this, if you cooperate with an investigation against your own sister, this family will not forget it. I'm sure you won't. I stood. But Ethan told me he thought he was going to die. And I'm done prioritizing family reputation over children's lives. They left without another word. I sat in the silence of my apartment, watching the morning light strengthen over the frozen city, and felt the full weight of what I had just done. Within hours, the story metastasized across social media. Vanessa posted first, a tearful Instagram video, her face bare of makeup, sitting in what appeared to be her bedroom. I made a terrible mistake last night, as she said, her voice breaking. I mixed up my sister's address during a stressful moment, and my children ended up in danger because of it. I will never forgive myself. But what hurts most is that my own sister, who I trusted, who I begged for help, has turned this into a police matter instead of helping me through the worst night of my life. I don't know who she is anymore. The comments section filled immediately. Friends, acquaintances, distant relatives. Your own sister called the police on you. Family should protect family. Everyone makes mistakes. This is so sad. My phone exploded with messages. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. family, friends. Even my college roommate. Is this true? What happened? I turned my phone face down and didn't respond to any of it. Monday morning, I went to work despite having slept perhaps for total hours since Friday night. My managing partner, Richard Chen, called me into his office before I even reached my desk. Natalie. Close the door. I sat, exhausted, expecting the worst. Richard slid a printed email across his desk. This arrived Saturday evening. From Thomas Brooks. I read it. It was carefully worded, professional, poisonous. It expressed concern about recent family difficulties that might be affecting my professional judgment. It mentioned the $3.8 million seaport redevelopment contract his firm had with us. It suggested that continued employment of someone involved in such troubling circumstances might reflect poorly on the firm's values. It never quite threatened, but the implication was clear: fire me or lose the contract. Richard, He held up a hand. I called you in here to tell you that I've already responded. I informed Mr. Brooks that this firm does not make employment decisions based on extortion, and that any attempt to interfere with our personnel matters would result in immediate contract termination and potential legal action. I also told him that if he contacts anyone at this firm again regarding this matter, we will pursue harassment charges. I stared at him. You're not firing me. Natalie, you've been with us for 6 years. You're one of our best engineers. The Seaport Bridge redesign is your project and it's brilliant work. Did you really think I'd fire you because of some family drama that, from what I can tell from a single news article, isn't even your fault? The contract is not worth compromising our integrity. Also, between you and me, your father's firm needs this project more than we need them. His bluffing. Richard leaned back. I do need to know if this is going to affect your work. If you need time off, we can arrange it. I need to work, I said honestly. I need something that makes sense right now. Then get back to your bridge. And Natalie, whatever your family is pressuring you to do, don't do it unless it's the right thing. I've seen what happens when people compromise on that. It never ends well. I returned to my desk and buried myself in load calculations and stress analyses, finding comfort in numbers that behaved predictably, in forces that followed known laws. Wednesday afternoon, Michael called. Natalie, can we meet? I'm back in Boston. The kids are with me, DCF-approved temporary placement. I need to talk to you about what happens next. We met at a coffee shop in Cambridge, neutral territory. Michael looked haggard, his usually polished appearance crumpled. He had always been the stable one in Vanessa's life, calm and reasonable. Looking at him now, I saw someone drowning. They're opening a full investigation, he said without preamble. DCF, the District Attorney's Office. They're looking at charges: reckless endangerment, child neglect. They want to interview everyone, pull phone records, review everything from that night. I know. They've already interviewed me twice more. Vanessa is saying you agreed to watch the kids and gave her the wrong address intentionally. She's saying you've been trying to damage her relationship with the children because you're jealous of her life. I felt my jaw tighten. That's not true and you know it. I do know it. I saw your email. The police showed me the timestamp and read receipt. I saw the security footage from our house. His voice cracked. She was drunk, Natalie. Really drunk. And she put our children in a car and sent them to the wrong address and didn't even check to make sure they arrived safely. She went to her party. Michael. I'm filing for emergency custody. My attorney says given the evidence, I have a strong case for sole legal and physical custody pending a full hearing. I wanted you to know before it becomes public. Does Vanessa know? Not yet. She's staying with your parents. She thinks this is all going to blow over, that the family attorney will make it go away. He looked at me directly. I need you to tell the truth. Whatever pressure your family is putting on you, whatever Vanessa is saying, I need you to tell the truth about what happened. Because if you don't, if this gets swept under the rug, my kids won't be safe. I've been telling the truth. I haven't changed my story once. I know. But it's about to get much harder. Your parents have retained Marissa Gould. She's a scorched earth litigator. She's going to try to destroy your credibility, make you look unstable or vindictive. Your family is going to do everything they can to paint this as a misunderstanding and you as the villain. I thought about the bribery attempt, the recording I had made. Michael, I have evidence. Things that might help your case. His eyes sharpened. What kind of evidence? I told him about the conversation with my parents, the recorded offer to pay off my loans in exchange for changing my statement. His expression moved from shock to something harder. You need to give that to your own attorney. And you need to hire one immediately if you haven't already. This isn't just about Vanessa and me anymore. They're going to come after you directly. I hired Rachel Delgado based on Michael's referral. She was in her early 50s, with steel grey hair and the kind of calm, assessing presence that suggested she had seen every variation of human behavior and was impressed by none of it. We met in her corner office overlooking Boston Harbor. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, taking occasional notes on a legal pad. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. You're in an unusual position. You're not a party to the custody case, but you're a crucial witness. Your testimony will likely determine whether Vanessa maintains any custody rights and whether criminal charges are filed. Your family understands this, which is why they are attempting to pressure and discredit you. What should I do? Continue telling the truth. Don't engage with social media attacks. Don't respond to family pressure. Document everything, every call, every message, every conversation. She tapped her pen against her notes. The recording of your parents is significant. It's evidence of attempted witness tampering, which is a criminal offense. I'm going to recommend you provide it to the district attorney's office. That will destroy my relationship with my parents. That relationship is already compromised. The question is whether you're willing to let them destroy you to protect themselves. Her expression softened slightly. I know this is difficult. But in my experience, families that pressure victims to lie about abuse or endangerment don't suddenly become supportive if you comply. They just learn they can manipulate you. Is this abuse? Legally? Sending children into a blizzard with an incorrect address while intoxicated, removing their means of communication, and failing to verify their safe arrival? Yes. That meets the threshold for reckless endangerment and child neglect at minimum. Whether it rises to something more depends on intent, which is harder to prove. What about the bribery attempt? That's witness tampering, potentially conspiracy to obstruct justice. The fact that your parents are wealthy and socially connected makes it worse, not better. It shows consciousness of guilt. She flipped to a new page. Here's what's going to happen. There will be a preliminary custody hearing within the next few weeks. Michael will petition for emergency sole custody. Vanessa will oppose it. Both sides will present evidence. As a key witness, you'll likely be called to testify. By which side? Both, potentially. Michael's attorney will want you to confirm the timeline, the email, Vanessa's pattern of behavior. Vanessa's attorney will try to discredit you, suggest you're biased or lying or have ulterior motives. She looked at me steadily. How comfortable are you with being attacked under oath by a skilled attorney in front of your family? I don't know. I've never experienced it. Then prepare yourself. It won't be pleasant. But if you stick to the truth and don't let them provoke you into emotional responses, they won't have much to work with. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for March 15th, exactly 1 month after the incident. In the intervening weeks, my life became surreal. I went to work, completed the Seaport Bridge redesign, attended meetings, reviewed structural calculations. Then I went home and prepared for legal proceedings that would dissect my family. Vanessa's Instagram following grew. Her story of the sister who betrayed her resonated with thousands of people who saw only the curated version: the tearful mother, the terrible mistake, the vindictive sibling who wouldn't forgive. I was tagged in hundreds of posts. My firm's social media received messages demanding I be fired. Someone found my personal email and sent messages telling me I was destroying my own family. I blocked, deleted, ignored. I focused on work. 2 days before the hearing, Rachel called me. Michael's attorney and I have been discussing strategy. We have an idea, but it requires you to trust us and do something that may feel counterintuitive. What? At the first hearing, we're not going to introduce the email or the security footage or the bribery recording. We're going to let Vanessa testify first and commit to her version of events under oath. I was silent for a moment. You want her to perjure herself. We want her to demonstrate, on the record, that she's willing to lie under oath about what happened. Then we'll introduce the evidence that proves she's lying. It's much more effective than simply contradicting her story. It shows the court who they're dealing with. That feels like a trap? It is. But it's a trap she walks into herself by lying. If she told the truth from the beginning, this strategy wouldn't work. Rachel's voice was firm. I need you to understand something. Your sister has already shown she's willing to endanger her children to avoid consequences. She's already lying publicly and trying to destroy your reputation. This isn't about revenge. It's about making sure the court sees the full picture before making decisions that affect Ethan and Lily's safety. What if it backfires? It won't. We have too much evidence. But it requires patience. Can you sit through a hearing where your sister lies about you, where her attorney attacks your credibility, and not react? Can you trust that the truth will come out? I thought about Ethan's face in the police station, about Lily crying into my shoulder. Yes. If it protects them, yes. The hearing took place in Family Court, a modern building in Cambridge that felt sterile and impersonal. Judge Harold Whittaker presided, a man in his 60s with the weathered expression of someone who had seen every possible variation of family dysfunction. Michael sat with his attorney, Jonathan Marsh, at one table. Vanessa sat with Mercer Gould at another. My parents were in the gallery, flanked by several family friends for show. I sat in the witness waiting area until I was called. Vanessa testified first. She wore a navy dress, minimal makeup, her hair pulled back simply. She looked like a concerned mother, which of course was the point. I had a charity event that evening, as she said, her voice steady. The babysitter cancelled last minute due to the storm. I was desperate. I called my sister Natalie around 6 and she initially said no, but then she called me back around 9 and said she changed her mind, that she could take them after all. Did she give you an address? Gould asked. Yes. She said to send them to 3200 South Harbour Street. She said she was staying at a friend's place that night to work on a project. I thought it was odd, but I was grateful she'd agreed to help. What happened when you put the children in the rideshare vehicle? I gave the driver the address Natalie provided. I told him their aunt was waiting for them. Ethan had been difficult that evening, acting out, being defiant, so I confiscated his phone as discipline. I thought he'd be fine for the short drive. Her voice caught. I never imagined Natalie had given me the wrong address. I thought my children were going somewhere safe. Have you spoken to your sister since that night? I've tried. She won't return my calls. I think she feels guilty about the mistake she made and she's trying to shift blame onto me. Vanessa looked at the judge. I made the wrong choice confiscating Ethan's phone. I should have double-checked the address. But I never intentionally endangered my children. This was a miscommunication that escalated tragically, and my sister is using it to damage my family. Gould continued, walking her through the evening, establishing that she had had 2 glasses of wine before leaving, not enough to impair her judgment, just social drinking at an event. She presented Vanessa as a stressed mother who made an error in judgment based on information provided by a sister who then betrayed her. Then it was Jonathan Marsh's turn to cross-examine. Ms. Brooks-Carter, you testified that your sister called you back around 9 p.m. and agreed to watch the children. Is that correct? Yes. And she gave you the address 3200 South Harbour Street? Yes. Did she send you this information in writing? A text message, perhaps, or an email? Vanessa hesitated for a fraction of a second. No. It was over the phone. So there's no written record of this conversation where she agreed to watch the children and provided the address? No. It was a phone call. I see. And you're certain of the timeline? She called around 9? Yes. I'm certain. Thank you. Nothing further. I was called next. Gould established that I was Vanessa's younger sister, that I had no children of my own, that I had always been close to Ethan and Lily. Then she pivoted. Ms. Brooks, isn't it true that you've always been somewhat envious of your sister's life? Her marriage, her children, her social position? No, I said evenly. That's not true. You've never expressed frustration about being single while she has a family? I've never expressed envy about her life specifically. But you have expressed frustration about your own single status? I've made casual comments, like most single people do. That's not the same as envy. You and your sister have had conflicts over the years, haven't you? We've had disagreements. Most siblings do. Including disagreements about how she parents her children. I felt the trap. I've had concerns at times. What kind of concerns? Rachel had prepared me for this. I've been concerned when I've observed her drinking alcohol and then driving with the children in the car. I've been concerned when she's missed school events or pickups due to being impaired. I've been concerned about her increasing alcohol consumption over the past year. Gould's expression tightened. You're accusing your sister of being an alcoholic? I'm stating facts about her behavior that I've personally observed. Observations you never reported to DCF or any authority? No. I tried to address them within the family. By criticizing her? By making her feel inadequate? By offering help and expressing concern? Help she repeatedly refused? Yes. Perhaps because she didn't have a drinking problem and you were inventing one to justify your own interference in her family? Objection, a Jonathan Marsh said quietly. Argumentative. Sustained, a Judge Whittaker said. Ms. Gould, rephrase. Gould shifted tactics. Ms. Brooks, On the night of February 13th, did your sister call you around 9 p.m.? No. You're certain? Completely certain. My phone records will show every call I received that day. She called me once, at 6:03 p.m. I have no record of any call around 9. Perhaps you simply don't remember. It was a stressful night. I remember very clearly. I was working on a critical project with a Monday deadline. I was not available to watch the children, and I told her so. Did you provide her with an address where she could send the children? No. I told her not to send them at all. Not even your own correct address? I didn't give her any address because I explicitly told her I would not be available and would not answer the door if they arrived. Gould smiled slightly. So you refused to help your sister with childcare during an emergency? It wasn't an emergency. It was a charity event. And yes, I declined because I had work obligations. Work obligations that were more important than family? Work obligations that I had committed to professionally, and family members who could have made alternative arrangements. I kept my voice level. Also, it wasn't an emergency until she created one by sending the children to the wrong address. A wrong address you provided. I provided no address. I told her not to send them. We went in circles for another 20 minutes. Gould tried to establish that I was lying, that I was jealous, that I had given confusing information, that I was using this situation to damage Vanessa. I stuck to the facts. Yes or no. Simple, clear answers. Never rising to the bait. When I was finally dismissed, I felt hollowed out but steady. The hearing continued with testimony from the rideshare driver, who confirmed the address he was given and that Vanessa had appeared tipsy when she put the children in his car. He testified that he felt uncomfortable with the situation but followed the address he was given. When no adult appeared at the destination, he considered calling police, but the children insisted they could see their aunt's building, so he left. Judge Whitaker set a follow-up hearing for 6 weeks later to review additional evidence and make a final determination. Temporary custody remained with Michael. Vanessa was granted supervised visitation twice per week. Outside the courthouse, Vanessa embraced my mother, sobbing. My father spoke briefly with reporters, expressing confidence that the truth would emerge and the family would reunite. I left through a side entrance and went back to work. Rachel called that evening. You did well. Exactly what we needed. She's going to get away with it, isn't she? The judge seemed sympathetic. No. She's committed to a story now. Under oath. And we have proof she's lying. We just needed her to commit first. There was a pause. The second hearing is April 26th. Between now and then, prepare yourself. Once we introduce the evidence, everything changes. The weeks between hearings felt suspended in amber. I worked. I avoided family contact. I had dinner with Michael and the kids twice, quiet evenings where we made pizza and watched movies and pretended everything was normal. Ethan was seeing a therapist. Lily had nightmares. But they were safe, and that was what mattered. 3 days before the second hearing, Rachel called me to her office. We're ready. I need to review everything with you one more time to make sure you're prepared for what's going to happen. She laid out the strategy. Jonathan Marsh would introduce the email first, with timestamps and read receipts. Then the security footage showing Vanessa intoxicated. Then the rideshare company's internal records showing exactly what address was entered and who entered it. Then, if needed, the recording of my parents attempting to bribe me. It's going to be overwhelming, Rachel said. Your sister will likely have an emotional breakdown in court. Your parents will be exposed as attempting witness tampering. The press will be present and this will be news. Are you ready for that? Do I have a choice? You always have a choice. You could decline to provide the recording. You could minimize what happened. You could try to protect your family from consequences at the expense of Ethan and Lily's safety. Yes. Then I'm ready. The second hearing began on a clear April morning. The courtroom was more crowded this time. Reporters, child advocates, additional family members. Vanessa looked confident, seated next to Gould. My parents sat directly behind her, a show of support. Jonathan Marsh stood. Your Honor, since the preliminary hearing, we've obtained additional evidence that directly contradicts Ms. Brooks-Carter's testimony. I'd like to introduce it now. He presented the email first, blown up on a screen. My message to Vanessa clearly stating I would not be available, timestamped at 6:14 p.m., with a red receipt showing she opened it at 7:52 p.m., hours before she put the children in the rideshare vehicle. Vanessa's face went white. Gould immediately requested a recess. Judge Whittaker denied it. Continue, Mr. Marsh. The security footage played next. Vanessa on her front steps, clearly unsteady, one hand on the railing. Pushing Ethan and Lily toward the waiting car. Leaning in to speak to the driver, her movements exaggerated. Walking back inside, stumbling slightly on the top step. The timestamp, 11:38 p.m. The rideshare company's records show that Ms. Brooks-Carter entered the destination address herself using the app on her phone, and Marsh continued. The address entered was 3200 South Harbour Street. At no point did Ms. Natalie Brooks provide this address or any other address to her sister. He introduced phone records showing only one call between Vanessa and me that day, the 6:03 p.m. call I had referenced. No call at 9 p.m. No subsequent communication. Judge Whittaker leaned forward. Ms. Brooks-Carter, you testified under oath that your sister called you around 9 p.m. and agreed to watch the children, providing the address where they should be sent. This evidence directly contradicts that testimony. Do you wish to revise your statement? Vanessa looked at Gould, who whispered urgently in her ear. Then she turned to the judge, tears streaming down her face. I was mistaken about the timeline. I was upset and confused. But the core of what I said is true. There was miscommunication with my sister. There was no miscommunication, a Judge Whittaker said. His voice hardening. There was an explicit email stating she was not available, which you read hours before putting your children in a vehicle and sending them to an incorrect address while you were visibly intoxicated. Ms. Gould, does your client understand that she may have perjured herself? Your Honor, my client is under extreme stress and may have simply misremembered. Misremembered a conversation that didn't happen? Misremembered her sister agreeing to childcare when there's written evidence of the opposite? He turned to Vanessa. Ms. Brooks-Carter, I'm going to ask you directly. Did you intentionally lie to this court about what happened on the night of February 13th? Vanessa broke. I didn't know what else to do. Michael was going to leave me. My parents said if I didn't fix this, I'd lose everything. I made a mistake with the address. I'd had some wine and I was stressed and I put in the wrong street name. It was an accident. But everyone acted like I tried to murder my own children. You sent them into a blizzard, improperly dressed, to the wrong address, without verifying their arrival. 2 children under 10 years old. Whether that rises to attempted murder is debatable, but it certainly constitutes reckless endangerment. I thought they'd be fine. I thought the driver would wait with them. I thought, as she couldn't continue. Marsh wasn't finished. Your Honor, There's one more piece of evidence the court should see. He introduced the recording of my parents' conversation with me, the attempted bribery, the offer to pay off my loans in exchange for changing my statement. My father stood in the gallery. That recording was made without our knowledge. It's inadmissible. Massachusetts is a one-party consent state, a Judge Whitaker said coldly. If your daughter chose to record a conversation she was part of, that's entirely legal. Sit down, Mr. Brooks. Saturday. The recording played in the silent courtroom. My mother's voice, cultured and cold, offering money. My father's voice, authoritative and commanding, framing it as family loyalty. My own voice, young and strained, asking them to leave. When it ended, Judge Whitaker removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes. Then he looked up, and his expression was granite. I've been doing this for 23 years. I've seen parents lie. I've seen families fracture. But I have rarely seen such a comprehensive attempt to manipulate the legal system and endanger children's welfare. He looked at Vanessa. Ms. Brooks Carter, you sent your children into a nor'easter, improperly dressed, to an incorrect address you yourself entered while intoxicated. You then lied under oath about what happened, claiming your sister provided the address and agreed to childcare when written evidence proves otherwise. You participated in or allowed a bribery attempt to get a witness to change her testimony. And throughout all of this, you have shown more concern for your reputation than for your children's welfare. He turned to my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Brooks, you attempted to bribe a witness in a child endangerment case. You will be hearing from the district attorney's office about potential criminal charges for witness tampering and obstruction of justice. Then he issued his ruling. Sole legal and physical custody is awarded to Michael Carter. Vanessa Brooks Carter is granted supervised visitation, 2 hours per week, pending completion of a substance abuse evaluation and parenting classes. If she fails to comply with these requirements, visitation will be suspended. Ms. Natalie Brooks is hereby designated as the children's permanent emergency guardian. Should anything happen to Mr. Carter, custody transfers immediately to her. He paused. I'm also referring this matter to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. The evidence supports charges of reckless endangerment and child neglect at minimum, and potentially filing a false report with police. Perjury charges will be pursued based on the testimony given in this courtroom. He looked at Vanessa one more time. You put your children's lives at risk and then lied about it to avoid consequences. If you want any relationship with them moving forward, I suggest you spend the next several months figuring out why you thought that was acceptable. The bailiff approached Vanessa. You'll need to come with me. What? Why? There's a warrant for your arrest on the perjury charge. You're being taken into custody. The courtroom erupted. My mother screamed. My father lunged toward the bench before court security restrained him. Reporters surged forward. Vanessa sobbed as she was handcuffed and led away. I sat frozen, watching my family implode. Rachel touched my shoulder. Let's go. There's a back exit. We left while the chaos continued. Outside, spring sunshine illuminated Boston in sharp detail, every edge and corner visible. Rachel walked me to her car. What happens now? I asked. Vanessa will be arraigned, likely released on bail. The criminal case will proceed separately from the custody case. Your parents will likely face charges. The press will cover all of it extensively. She looked at me. You did the right thing. It doesn't feel like it right now, but you protected those children. I destroyed my family. Your family destroyed itself. You just refused to help them bury the evidence. I went home and turned off my phone. I sat on my balcony overlooking the public garden and watched the city move below me, people living their lives, unaware that mine had just fractured completely. That evening, Michael came by with Ethan and Lily. "We don't have to stay," he said. "But the kids wanted to see you." Ethan hugged me silently. Lily climbed into my lap. "Is Mom going to jail?" Ethan asked. "I don't know," I said honestly. "She might. She broke some important rules." "The judge said you're our emergency guardian." "What does that mean?" "It means if anything happens to your dad, you come to live with me. It means you're safe." "Good." He said it simply, factually, the way he said everything. "We want to live near you anyway." 3 years later, I stood on the same balcony on an October evening, watching sunset paint the Charles River in copper and gold. The Seaport Pedestrian Bridge, my design, had been completed 18 months earlier and had won the Boston Society of Architects Award. I had been promoted to lead structural engineer. Life had continued, though in a shape I never could have imagined. Michael lived 2 brownstones down from me now, a deliberate choice we'd made together. We weren't romantic, had never been, would never be. But we were partners in raising his children, and that bond was deeper than I'd understood was possible. Ethan was 13 now, fascinated by architecture, spending hours with my blueprints and design software. Lily was 10, obsessed with painting cityscapes, her room covered with images of Boston from every angle. Vanessa had been convicted of perjury and reckless endangerment, sentenced to 2 years probation, mandatory substance abuse treatment, and community service. She'd moved to Portland after completing her sentence, remarried, had another child. Last month, a CPS flag from our case had surfaced during a domestic incident at her new home. I'd received a call from an Oregon social worker asking about history. I'd answered honestly, provided documentation, and then sat with the weight of it. I felt no triumph. Only a deep, settled sadness and a clearer understanding that some people don't change, and protecting yourself from them isn't cruelty, it's survival. My parents had accepted a plea deal on the witness tampering charges, suspended sentences, heavy fines, community service. They'd moved to their vacation home in Naples full-time, unable to tolerate the social stigma in Boston. We hadn't spoken in 3 years. Sometimes I missed what I'd thought we had. Mostly, I felt relief at the absence of constant pressure to betray my own integrity. Behind me, the door slid open. Ethan stepped onto the balcony, his height suddenly startling. He'd grown 4 inches this year. "Aunt Nat? Dad wants to know if you're coming down for dinner. We're making tacos." "I'll be right there." He lingered, leaning against the railing beside me. "That bridge looks really good in this light." "It does, doesn't it?" "I've been thinking about what you said last week. About how engineering is about making things that protect people." He was quiet for a moment. "You did that for us, too. Not just the bridge." I looked at him, this boy who'd almost died because the adults around him had failed, who'd survived it and was somehow turning into a thoughtful, grounded person despite everything. "You protected yourselves," I said. "You knocked on that warehouse door. You kept Lily safe. You survived. Because we knew you'd find us. Even when Mom said you were waiting and you weren't there, I knew something was wrong, but I also knew you wouldn't just abandon us. I knew you'd figure it out." He turned to me. "Thank you for telling the truth. Even when it was hard." Something in my chest cracked open, some last piece of guilt I'd been carrying. "You're welcome." Also, Lily wants to paint the bridge. She's been asking if we can walk across it tomorrow. Tell her yes. Tell your dad I'll be down in 5 minutes. He headed back inside. I stayed a moment longer, watching the city lights begin to glow as dusk deepened. I thought about the night 3 years ago when I'd sat in a police station and made the choice to refuse the lie my family wanted. I thought about all the people who told me family loyalty was paramount, that I was destroying my sister by not protecting her from consequences. I thought about Ethan and Lily, safe and thriving and learning what healthy boundaries looked like. Love without boundaries is not love. It's surrender. It's complicity. It's teaching people that your welfare matters less than their comfort. Real love, the kind that protects and nurtures and allows people to grow, requires boundaries. Requires truth. Requires the willingness to let people face consequences so they might finally change. My family had never understood that. Perhaps they never would. But I did. And the 2 children downstairs, the ones I'd chosen to protect instead of the family reputation I'd been raised to worship, they understood it too. I walked back inside, locking the balcony door behind me, and went down to join them for tacos. The life I'd lost when I told the truth had been built on lies and conditional love and the constant pressure to minimize myself. The life I'd gained was built on integrity and chosen family and the quiet knowledge that I could look at myself in the mirror without flinching. It was not the life I'd planned. It was so much better.